Hello, everyone. I'm Jessica Ripley with Avalon Center. If you haven't seen any of our previous videos or don't really know who we are, I encourage you to take a look at our channel. There are a number of educational presentations and clips that reflect our mission here at Avalon and are a great resource towards creating an aware community. Before we get started, this presentation does include information, discussion, and media that addresses sensitive topics. I acknowledge that this content may be difficult, and I also encourage you to care for your safety and well-being in the best way that you see fit. Today, we're going to talk about what elder abuse is, how to spot the signs of elder abuse, and what we can do to try to prevent elder abuse from happening, as well as what we can do to support those who are experiencing elder abuse. Elder abuse is an intentional act or failure to act that causes or creates a risk of harm to an older adult. Typically, when we speak of an older adult, we are referring to individuals 65 and over. Depending on the jurisdiction, this can be defined as adults 18 and over who have a disability. Some important facts about elder abuse. Approximately 1 in 10 Americans aged 60 and over have experienced some form of elder abuse. Some estimates range as high as 5 million elders who are abused each year. Abuse is underreported. Cases are not reported because the survivor is afraid or unable to report. One study estimated that only 1 in 24 cases of abuse are reported to authorities. Elder abuse often occurs at the hands of a caregiver or a person the elder trusts. In almost 60% of elder abuse and neglect incidents, the perpetrator is a family member, and 2/3 of perpetrators are adult children or spouses. Elder abuse can take on many forms. It can be physical, which is any form of physical force that causes pain or injury, such as hitting, kicking, shaking, biting, or burning. It can be sexual, which is any sexual contact made without consent. It can be emotional, name calling, scaring, belittling, or behavior that harms the individual's mental well being are all factors that contribute towards emotional abuse. Failure to meet the individual's basic needs is known as neglect and can be characterized by leaving the elder alone where they are unable to meet those needs. You will hear financial exploitation a lot when we talk about elder abuse. It is the illegal use of money or property to benefit someone else. Here you'll see a list of signs of elder abuse. The individual may seem depressed, confused, or withdrawn. There can be an increase in fear and anxiety, unusual changes in behavior or sleep patterns, or even signs of trauma like rocking back and forth. You will notice them withdrawn from normal activities, isolated from friends and family. They may have a disheveled appearance. There may be a lack of medical aids, such as hearing aids, a walker, or glasses. There is an appearance of unsanitary or unclean living conditions, and there may be examples of financial exploitation, such as unpaid bills. This does include wills and other financial documents. And be aware of fraudulent signatures and any unpaid or late notices. While most physical wounds heal, elder abuse does cause long-term effects such as lasting disabilities, premature death, worsening of pre-existing health problems, constant fear, depression, anxiety, self-blaming, loss of trust, impaired relations with others and social isolation, as well as financial loss. And to give you some perspective on that, financial loss concerning elder abuse is in the billions annually.
They were never threats, it was just immediate actions. And the fact, that unsuspecting. Like a Thanksgiving dinner, his family was coming and I did something and I had a black eye. And I had to kind of proceed with having 26 people for Thanksgiving dinner or taking my son to get a jacket. And when we asked him if we could do that, I got a black eye. So it was spontaneous. There was never any warning that it was coming, the physical abuse. The barometer and the question we would ask, what kind of a mood is Dad in today? And then I always call it that we did the dance of domestic violence. Okay, so Dad's in a good mood, so we may be going somewhere. Dad's in a bad mood, he's going to stay in bed most of the morning and we're going to wait until he says it's time for us to do anything. The public place and the private place was happening all the time in our marriage with the kids. We would have people coming in the driveway and we'd had a fight and I'd been crying and he would then say to me, Mary Lou, do you love me? And I would say, yes. And they'd be getting out of the car. So these are your friends, I don't have to be nice to them. And then just like that, they'd walk in the door, he'd be all smiles, and no one would have suspected. That became the focal point of our life, that whole keeping the image. And I'm not sure, subconsciously or consciously, but we walked out the house and we were 4 perfect little kids, and in our careers, I would drive to school crying, and then by the time I'd get into my classroom, I'd feel a peace, and that I was respected and loved. I was an excellent first grade teacher, and I loved it. And I would do innovative things, and I'd come home and tell him, and he said, wait till they find out what a fake and a fraud you are. And it was like I had a big bouquet of balloons that someone just took a pin and popped them all.
At the beginning, it was clear that Mary Lou was using what Mary Lou would call denial, and she, I think herself, has used the term of denial as a sedative, and she was denying and denying and denying and denying. And my job as a therapist to just sort of wait through the denial.
Denial is a sedative for traumatic experiences. So you live in denial. You hope it's not going to happen again, or that you just move on. I mean, that I could smile and entertain people after I'd been 3 days of living hell on earth before they came. So denial, I think, goes right along with control and fear. Denying that, it's going to get better, and it didn't really happen that way, and or just forget it and then wipe it out. And so some of the things I can't remember because I just blacked them out and moved on. I had to, live my life. He always said to me, "You could never leave me," and he said, because number one, you have a lousy retirement, you don't have any health insurance, and you don't have any family. The pain was so bad that I wanted to kill myself, to end my life and end the pain. And praise God, I knew I had more living to do, and I didn't. But again, he took that situation and me, and my last hope is saying, maybe he'll understand how bad I am feeling, and told him I had attempted suicide, and he went and got a gun, and he said, I'll show you how to put a gun to your head and be successful committing suicide. And I still hear the cylinders from that situation.
It was at that time that I said to Mary Lou, Mary Lou, you are in a domestic abuse relationship with your husband, and it's time to call it by the name that it is. And then all things changed.
So that was a turning point, finding Jennifer and then having her be there for me when I needed the most and that I was ready to be honest. I still remember the day I walked in, when it was right after all this incident, and we were talking, and she said, "Mary Lou, you're a victim of domestic violence." And I went, "What?" I was shocked. I think leaving was a start, admitting that I wasn't going back, and then finding out what it was kind of gave a name to it all. I was at my computer and he walked by and he had a suitcase, and I can still see his back in the suitcase. He said, "I'm leaving you and you'll never see me again," which was something he did often. And quite honestly, I had never, ever left. I'd threatened to, but I didn't. And so I kind of walked out into my sunroom, and his words just kind of went through my mind. And I said, "No." I think from all the pain I was suffering, what I had attempted suicide, like, "Mary Lou, enough." And I said to myself, "No, I'm leaving you, and you'll never see me again." And I used that C, meaning I'll not be in your life again. And it felt real. It felt honest. It felt like this is what I was going to do. And I thought about it afterwards, and I felt it was God's grace talking to me that I finally heard. And I called my daughter and said, I'm leaving your father. And of course, she took it like, "Oh yeah, sure, you probably said this, whatever, and even though you didn't do it, but you're more than welcome to come to my house." And I really felt it was over. And what happened to me, I packed my little suitcase and I got in my car and I'm crying and crying and crying. And I pulled out of the garage, and I can still visualize it today. Pulled out, and I pulled out of the driveway, and I closed the door, and I felt like something had been lifted off my shoulders, even though I was depressed and sad and confused. And it's like, I don't care what happens, I'm done. And I don't care who knows or whatever. And I left.
In the first 5 or 6 or 7 years, we met more. 8 years even, we met on a more frequent basis. And then it became less frequent and more dictated by what Mary Lou needed and when she would call me. But the fact that what she was doing is she was changing her view of herself and her view of herself in relationship to the world and her relationship with her family.
When you talk about people's feelings about counseling, I hear like someone remark, "Oh, they've gone to counseling." It's like they perceive it as a weakness, as something that you can't handle it, so you have to have someone else make the decision. And I found that to be so different in the relationship I have with my therapist, and that it's a growing process. And she gives me the foresight to talk things over and see what's going to be the best choice for me to do. And even now, dealing with my adult children, I continue to need that support, and I don't feel it's a crutch. It helps make my foundation stronger.
It's not a weakness to go into therapy. It is a struggle every inch of the way. That's why Mary Lou is strong. She hasn't come out of this a victim. It's that she comes into my office with her agendas, and she hands me one, and she keeps one, and off we go on her agendas.
Our relationship with Mary Lou is very much a peer relationship at this point. She has helped us at least as much as we have been able to help her. She's gone into the community with us to talk about her story, to tell people about her experiences in an abusive relationship, how she got out, how her life is better. And that kind of story can be so affecting to people, to know that there is time on the other side where you can get through this and you can build a better life. When Mary Lou goes with us and tells her story, that is always everyone's favorite part of our presentation, because it's so warm and compassionate and means so much to people that she cares enough to share it.
It's the hardest decision I made and the best decision I ever made. And for people that are watching this to know that they do not deserve to be treated that way, if they could just remember that, that's so important.
As you could hear from Mary Lou's story, elder abuse is devastating and isolating. Mary Lou also stated that the abuse was spontaneous. There were no warnings. That's one of the many reasons why creating a safety plan is important. Safety plans are an element of support that may be used to help lower the risk of abuse, as well as prepare the individual for future crisis and the possibility of leaving the situation. When safety planning, consider asking a neighbor to call the police if they hear a disturbance coming from your home. Create a code word or phrase with someone you trust to alert them you are in danger. Create a plan of how to get out of the house safely and quickly. Pack a bag with important essentials in case you have to leave quickly. And know community resources. Please contact Avalon Center for a personalized safety plan. The following are important items to take with you if you have to leave your home. Consider placing them in one location for easy accessibility. Identification, birth certificate, vaccination records, a checkbook or ATM card, keys, medications, social security card, money, credit cards, a driver's license, a copy of a protection order, passport, medical records, pictures, jewelry, and any items of sentimental value. Let's talk about prevention of elder abuse. One way to prevent elder abuse is to listen to older adults and their caregivers to understand their challenges and provide support. Now, it's not just coincidence that this is first on the list. Hearing the challenges of the older adult and their caregiver can be one of the first unveilings of red flags. Another way to prevent elder abuse is to report abuse or suspected abuse to Adult Protective Services, and to educate oneself and others about how to recognize and report elder abuse. Some more ways to prevent elder abuse are to learn how the signs of elder abuse differ from the normal aging process. This will be unique for each case, especially for individuals who have been diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's. It is extremely important to not mistake their response to trauma with their normal aging process. Check in often on older adults who may have few friends and family members, and utilize community resources. How can you help? You can grant emotional support. Start by believing the individual. Don't blame them for what has happened. Listen to them and empower them by allowing them to make their own informed decisions. Practice confidentiality. Support them and be patient. Here's a list of resources for the Middle Peninsula and Greater Williamsburg area. You will also see the 24-hour Adult Protective Services hotline number. I encourage you to call this number if you do not see your area listed here. That ends today's presentation. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to these important facts about elder abuse. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at the contact information listed here. And if you have a couple of minutes, please consider filling out the survey linked below. And don't forget to check out our channel for more educational videos.